Speed Up Sunset World.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima!
この番組は地域密着型のボランティア活動を徳島で行っている国際ワークキャンプのメンバーがお届けする30分です。
This 30 minutes broadcast is hosted by volunteer members who come from abroad to help the community of Tokushima.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the host for this evening. I'm Rina from Japan, and tonight's guest is
Tokushima, Japan.
This radio program, Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima, is live on FM Bizan. This 30 minutes broadcast is operated by non-profit organization Bizan Daigaku. Bizan Daigaku has been trying to make Tokushima more attractive with volunteers from Tokushima and outside Tokushima, including people from all over the world. Popular images of Japan, sushi and sumo, yes, but we would like people around the world to know not only those images, but more things about Japan. We share the news from Japan and information about Tokushima, a place that welcomes foreigners from all over the world. We also will connect to people around the world to share with you what is happening outside Japan. No one knows who will be talking or what kind of topics we will bring up. Don't miss it.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima!
Hello, this is Rina. I'm hosting the show online thanks to technology. Let me call the guest of tonight, who's in the studio, Mr. Mori. Mori-san?
Hello, dear listeners and Rina-san.
Hello. How are you today, Mori-san?
I'm super genki today.
Sounds great. Thank you for coming to the studio. So, Mori-san, could you tell the listeners about you?
Okay, let me tell you briefly about my background and why I'm here. I was born in 1961 in Tokushima City, more specifically near Bizan, which is a 290-meter high small hill covered with rich green. I went to the University of Hiroshima, and after involving in education for 25 years, I retired from full-time jobs much earlier than others do, and I've joined Flower Road project at Bizan Daigaku. So I'm here this studio. Oh, my job was mainly teaching language and literature, by the way.
Oh, were you teaching in Tokushima for the whole time?
Not really. I was a teacher at various institutions, from private juku schools to public schools, and at different places such as Hiroshima, Tokushima, Aichi, Tokyo, and even in the US and New Zealand.
Wow, you have taught in many different places. When did you come back to Tokushima?
I retired as early as at the age of 48 and returned to Tokushima to live with my old mom. And since then, 12 years have passed in Tokushima. Everyone around me tried to stop me retiring so early, but I did. And now I found it quite successful.
That's great. I heard you have been volunteering with NPO Bizan Daigaku.
Yes. In the last July, I met Shindy-san at Bizan Daigaku, and he invited me to join this radio show. I think this should be the third time to be here in this studio.
So, welcome back.
Thank you.
What else would you tell us tonight, Mori-san?
Tonight, at first half of the show, I'd like to tell you about my experiences in my university days. It was about 40 years ago, though. I hope you can learn some tips or lessons from my life.
Well, sounds wonderful, Mori-san. So, could you start from when you left Tokushima for the first time?
Well, I first left Tokushima for Hiroshima as a university student to be a teacher of Japanese language and literature, or 国語の先生. When I was a freshman, I made one decision. That is, I continue to learn English as my minor. Strangely enough, at that time, very few students had that idea in Japan. No one told us about that. I didn't know exactly why. I presume it may be related to a Japanese traditional way of thinking, which is well described in a Japanese saying, 二頭追う者は一頭をも得ず, which is, he that hands two hairs loses both in English. I guess this way of thinking is still popular among a lot of Japanese, am I right?
I feel there are still many people who think that way. And I think they are afraid of challenging themselves, even though they actually want to try.
Oh, yeah. I'm afraid even today, most of the students just follow the university's guidance and want to take the shortest cut to get to the certificate and graduate from their universities. I've never thought it's true to young people who come to Bizan Daigaku. That's a point I admire them.
You're right. I also have met many young people who became members of Bizan Daigaku who are ambitious and hardworking.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, Mori-san, I realized that you speak English very well. How did you improve your English?
Of course. I prepared a lot for this show, as you know. Well, joking aside, on entering the university, I joined the English learning circle and continued to study English. And I started to learn and use English among Japanese fellow students sharing common interest. Every lunchtime of weekdays under some olive trees at the backyard of university library, we made a pair and practiced English, sharing a textbook of English course on NHK, and enjoyed free chats in our broken Japanese English. It was new and odd experience to me, but I myself got used to it. But my classmates majoring Japanese language and literature were looking at me suspiciously because sometimes I took a lecture class on Shakespeare instead of on Basho. A kind but a bit nosy fellow came to me and said, "Mori, you are in the wrong class."
What? Yes, he should have minded his own business.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But actually, I was half glad because he looked worried for me. Yeah. When I was a third-year student of the university, I decided to be a Japanese language teacher for non-native speakers of Japanese, or Nihongo no sensei. I shifted my life. There was no course for that at my university at that time, but I felt some potential in the air. I thought Japanese society would be more international. There's no buzzword like global in 1980s yet. On the university campus, I'd already found that there were very few native English-speaking students. On the other hand, a lot of Asian countries' students, mainly from China, South Korea, or Indonesia, they were able to speak and write in very good Japanese, and above all, they were highly motivated to learn something new and useful for developing their own countries in their limited time of learning abroad in Japan.
Wow. What else did motivate them?
At that time, most of them got a scholarship from their central governments.
I see.
It's natural that they had a sense of mission for the people who had sent them off their countries. They all looked so ambitious. And for me, just like some national leaders in Meiji era, Tsuda Umeko or Shibusawa H., great figures who founded modern Japan.
So some of those international students must have become big in their countries.
I hope so. I started to communicate with such attractive international students. They were surely eye-openers to me.
Okay, so how did you help them with their Japanese?
I read through their written assignments or research papers and checked out and corrected their typos or errors they made at the corner of the university library. It was my first volunteer work at the university. I did private tutoring for them regularly. I also had, so to speak, a third place there at second floor of the university library.
Okay.
During the summer vacation or winter break, I noticed people stayed at the university library were just overseas students. They just concentrated themselves on their study, not part-time jobs. I had more friends, overseas students, than Japanese friends, and would go to their rooms to eat lunch or dinner together on holidays.
Nice.
They wanted to make some Japanese friends, but it seems too much difficult than they had expected. I might have been a first Japanese who knocked their doors to say konnichiwa. I understood how lonely they were in Japan.
Wow, I believe you helped them a lot in many different ways.
I hope I did. I know they did help me a lot. I was a lonely student too. Well, lastly, I'd like to mention one thing I saw in China in 1983. I had a chance to visit 4 big cities in China as a delegate of Goodwill Study Tour. I was surprised to see many Chinese students reciting Japanese textbook under the trees, in some Chinese universities before their classes starts. Their motivation of learning language was so high because mastering foreign languages was absolutely important to free from their poverty.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine today's surprising situation in the world economy, but it's not just a beginner's luck or a miracle, but a matter of course. I've had a kind of current or waves or energy of Asian countries. People belonging to my generation were already overwhelmed by young developing countries like rising dragons 40 years ago.
Rising dragons, that's a nice expression. So now we would like to play a song Mori-san requested. After that, we will talk about his life. Thank you. After he came back to Tokushima.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima!
I'm back here with Mori-san. The song was Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton.
Wow, I love this song so much. I heard that Eric Clapton made this song after his 4-year son was dead by an accident. I think I can understand his sad feeling. Actually, I also had 2 boys. They were respectively 2 and 5 years old in 1996. My ex-wife and my boys had left me all of a sudden. We got a divorce.
Oh no, really?
It took me some years until I can talk about it calmly, even in my mother tongue. The 2 lessons I can tell you here are: 1, survive in this unpredictable world. That's a life. And 2, and 2, communicate with each other in words. That's the only way to face and overcome the reality, even though it's not perfect.
Oh, wow, that sounds like you have had a tough time, Mori-san. And thank you for your advice. And I think lessons you told us are important. So now let me ask you about how your life has been after you came back to Tokushima.
Okay.
So I think you told us you returned to Tokushima 12 years ago?
That's correct. I returned to my hometown, Tokushima, in 2009. I have 2 kids, by the way, and they were being enough to live in their youth as teenagers. During last 12 years long, my early golden age, I luckily encountered new friends to share aims and tons of books to borrow from some public libraries here in Tokushima. I spent first 2 years in completing the University of Japan's correspondence courses to get bachelor's degree in law and over 5 years in teaching English at Johto High School in Tokushima. I also started to do some volunteer work such as helping children from overseas to learn basic Japanese and school subjects at elementary schools. It's a kind of a tutorial.
How nice. What else have you been doing?
And the rest of the time, spare time, has been mainly dedicated to strolling at Mount Bisan to appreciate its nature and joining some tour trips with my old mom. These are surely relaxed and quality time. I did find a different world in the nature and trips. For example, I walked along small paths in Mount Bisan and picked a leaf of trees and later checked their names and details in books. Or joined bus tours going around 88 temples with my mom. That made me get interested in local history of local area, especially my hometown, Tokushima.
Wow, I think you're open-minded and always eager to learn and try new things, and that's great.
Thank you.
Could you tell us about your volunteering experience with Bisan Daigaku?
All right. Since last July, I've joined an activity of Bisan Daigaku called Project Flower Road. I usually water plants and pick up litter 4 times a week along the roads in the central part of Tokushima City. You may call the area Flower Road campus of Bisan Daigaku. Daigaku means university in in Japanese, you know. So Bisan Daigaku is a university or labor camp? No. An NPO in Tokushima, right?
Okay.
Many people, including volunteers from overseas, have enjoyed different kinds of activities, from playing with infants to staying at the strawberry farm in western part of Tokushima. I've joined Flower Road activity and enjoyed chatting with them. Of course, due to the COVID-19, we can rarely see them in these days. It's a pity, but a few local Tokushima people still hang in there.
Yeah, thank you for joining and helping Bisan Daigaku. Now that volunteers cannot really come to Tokushima, both from other prefectures in Japan and from abroad, I believe you're one of the precious assets for the NPO.
Oh, thank you for your kind words, Ina-san. But I know you deserve it, not me. Well,
No, but thank you.
Well, fortunately, I've been passing my peaceful life with well-balanced tangible and intangible assets such as money, time, human relations, and health. My mom will be 92 this November and still in good health. If she had been sick and hospitalized, my life would have been drastically different one.
That's wonderful. I bet you appreciate your mother, how well she is, and your mother appreciates you spending time with her as well.
Yeah.
I heard you interact with young people there besides volunteer activities, right?
That's right. I personally have met some young or middle-aged people who are trying to start their own businesses in tourism or physical fitness dance called Zumba.
Zumba sounds fun. How do you feel when you interact with them?
I think they have a different sense of value and show a unique lifestyle in their lives, compared with ones in my days.
How different?
They are trying to do something independently. On the other hand, people of my generation wanted to be hired and depended established companies. Younger generation look more flexible rather than unstable. They seem to be more sincere than me in terms of the attitude towards their own lives. I hope they will lead their meaningful lives than I did.
Beautiful message. Do you mind telling us why you think that way?
I personally believe no one can set up your life before you leave. What you have to do is to accept and rethink and adjust for the changes. Even if you won't try to stick to your present life, your life continue to change till the end. Because you are surrounded with countless coincidences you can't control.
That's true.
You are like, so to speak, a lonely bubble floating on the surface of the huge river called time and space, and you are connected with millions of bubbles at the same time. This image is quite traditional one expressed by Kamo no Chomei, for example, so it has been since medieval ages in Japan. And I like this metaphor so much. Whether you are young or old, don't worry so much about whatever happens in your lives. Our lives are full of difficulties and pains, so let's have less expectation. Resilience should be one of the key words to live toughly, and you don't have to look for one fixed ideal identity, but you are allowed to have a kind of more flexible and developing identities for your whole lives.
Wow. Your message is very convincing to me, Mori-san. I appreciate you came here today and share your thoughts with us. Oh, by the way, speaking of tourism and Zumba in Tokushima, you introduced someone to this program for next week, right?
Yes, I did. So I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Akane-san, who is a tour guide and instructor of Zumba fitness. She's going to share about tourism in Tokushima and Zumba in detail.
Yes, we will have Akane-san as a guest next week. She will be here with us. And will you join us again as well?
Absolutely. Don't miss a coming show next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mori-san, for joining the show today. And see you next week. All right, it seems we have reached the end of the program. We are waiting for messages from you with feedback or request.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima!
This radio program Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima is being recorded live here on Bizan FM in Tokushima. So, Mori-san, here is the last question for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite English word or phrase?
Well, my favorite English old saying is, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me, which means, 枝や石で叩かれたら私の骨は折れるだろうが、言葉だけでは私は決して傷つかないつもりだ。どうぞ何でも話してくれ。In my interpretation, this saying encouraged me to face my difficult life using words, not looking away from the tangled human relations without words.
Wow, I didn't know the saying, but it sounds great. Thank you. So this program is operated by non-profit organization Bizan Daigaku. We are open to accepting any forms of support or contributions you have to offer within the local community of Tokushima. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you wish to get involved by emailing radio@bizandaigaku.net. We are accepting requests and messages via email. Please send emails to request@bfm.jp, request@bfm.jp, including the title of the show Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima in your messages. You can listen to this channel FM Bizan on the internet with your PC and smartphones. If you are accessing with your PC, go to the website www.bfm.jp and you will find the banner written SIMUL radio on the right side of the page. If you are accessing with your smartphone or tablet, download the application